everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and welcome to Hangout number 87. Welcome, patrons who are in the chat room. Let's see who's here today. Oh, let's see. We got Kelly. Michaela is here. Florence is here. Leslie is here. Sean is here. Emily is here. CJ is here. Sally is here. And I might have already missed your name. Wait a minute. I'm fogging up again. By the way, I always point out how if people would like to be in the chat rooms for the 4 hangouts a month and at least 4 cases a month, that's 8. My Patreon, I only have one level. It's $5, and it gets you to be able to come to all the chats and also be part of our weekly chat online. If we're as far as talking about the different cases, especially the one I did that week, or anything else you want to bring up. It's a place to ask me questions, and I try to answer you. And it's a lot easier to do it there than it is on YouTube. So for $5 a month, that's what you get. But I always forget to mention this. If you come to the live shows, you don't get any advertising either. So if you like to come to my shows and the advertising annoys you, which I make money off of, mind you, if you join Patreon and come to the show live, you don't see the advertising. So that's a bonus. I never thought about that before, but it's worth it if you what? Yeah, no, I don't know, Michaela. There was an intro. It'll probably show up later, but that's weird. No, I heard the intro on this end and I heard the music, so go figure. Gotcha, just go figure. Anyway, I made a promise. To you, Michaela. That among the many things I'm going to talk about today, you wanted a Dear Pat segment up early, because I usually leave that for the end of the show. Make sure, people who like that can then wait around 2 hours. And I am going to do a segment eventually. I'm going to do a separate playlist of just some Dear Pat shows because you all like them. But I haven't gotten to that yet. But I do have one for you, Michaela. I do. And this one just cracked me up. And I'm borrowing stuff from other people's stuff. So this is Dear Abby. Dear Abby. Oh, by the way, if you're new to the show, please do subscribe to the channel. Please do like the show. Hit the bell for notifications. Check my playlist for all the shows I've done. In case you have one show you're really interested in, maybe it's been done already. And you can also go to the search engine on YouTube and put in Profiler Pat Brown in the case you're interested in and see if I've already done it. Okay, so anyway, Dear Abby. My longtime girlfriend and I broke up recently. One of the reasons was because we didn't agree on a definition of cheating. Sorry. This makes me laugh, this one. It's not the definition of cheating you need to worry about. It's the definition of stupidity you need to worry about. She met a friend through work whom I met once, and what I saw and heard during that interaction screamed that he was a sleaze who wanted to move in on my girl. I voiced my concerns and asked her to stop seeing this friend, and she agreed. A week later, she renewed her friendship, communicating through Snapchat. For 6 months, she would have drinks with him, go places with him, and have conversations with him without telling me. She swears they never did anything. Because some guy moving in on your girl is going to wait more than 6 months to get anything, right? But I've seen the signs. From time to time, I'd notice she wasn't where she said she would be. The car would smell like smoke, and we were growing apart. One day, it's been 6 months, dude. Your one day should have come like 5.5 months ago. One day, I finally had enough, and we agreed to separate. Since our first day apart, they have been together. Oh, what a shock. I have told her she cheated on me, and I couldn't trust her. She insists she wasn't cheating. And I should have been more self-confident and trusting. When two people's definition of cheating differs, what do you do? Who is right? No, dude, your definition of cheating doesn't differ. Your definition of how stupid does she think I am differs. She thought you were super stupid, and you didn't realize you were super stupid. So she pulled the wool over you because you were dense. You're dense, dude. So you need to learn a lot more about life than what does cheating mean? It's called when you have evidence right in front of your nose, you should believe the evidence right in front of your nose. She was playing you. I don't know what she got out of you for those 6 months that she was with you and using you and having fun on the side. But it must have been something you were giving her. And I'm guessing it wasn't what you really wanted. So what definition of stupidity? That's what your issue was. Oh my God. Just saw. I don't think it's so funny. It's like sometimes you just scratch your head and go, do you not get what's right there? And I want to answer that question. A lot of people don't get what's right there. And that's the problem with a lot of people's lives, that they have evidence. They just don't want to look at the evidence, because if they look at the evidence, then they have to deal with the evidence. So when you think your partner's cheating because you have 10 pieces of evidence, but you still go, maybe I should wait for 1 or 2 more. No, it's because you don't want to deal with the fallout. And sometimes the fallout is not pleasant, mind you, because it can mean a breakup of a marriage. It can mean all kinds of things that are unpleasant. Sometimes it's you're not even in a relationship, but you're willing to go into a relationship that you shouldn't be in spite of all the red flags. But it's because you're lonely. It's because you need a roommate because you can't pay the rent. Whatever it is, you've got some reason not to look at the evidence. And this is one of the reasons I love doing this channel, because although I talk about crime and analyzing evidence of crime, we need to analyze evidence in our own lives to better our lives, especially when we have children, families that we need to care for. So if everybody who comes here just comes here for the crime, but goes away learning something for regular life, I'm happy with that, because I've always believed that behind, even if you don't know that something has helped somebody evaluate something and make a better choice, it's a great thing. So, I can't solve let me put it this way. A lot of the cold cases that I analyze, I'm analyzing them to help people understand how to analyze so that they can do better in the future. I personally am probably not going to solve cold cases. I'd love to, but I'm not going to, because I don't have the access and the power to do so. But if I can teach people, then they can do something. The detectives on the case, the detectives in future cases, or what we learn for cases, we can put into our own lives, and that's just as good. So I'm happy about that. So, well, that is true, Michaela. A lot of people are mind-numbingly stupid. Unfortunately, but these are usually people. It's not really that they're stupid. I'm saying that a little bit, just in tongue-in-cheek. There, it's more that he's desperate. Desperation drives people more than stupidity. We see things. We know they're there. We just don't want to accept it, because the minute he accepts that girl is just cheating on him, he loses her. And I don't know, maybe it took him a long time to find anybody who'd go with him. I don't know what the guy's like. Maybe he's not wealthy. Maybe he doesn't have maybe he's not gorgeous. Maybe he's, I don't know, whatever he is. Maybe he doesn't attract women like crazy. And he finally gets this one, and he doesn't want to lose her, because it took him 7 years to get the woman, and now she can't be cheating on him. So desperation. I think desperation drives a lot of people. Desperation of all kinds of things. It'll ruin you. Desperation will ruin you. So we have to be careful about how we deal with life, so we don't get ruined. Okay. And I'm going to point this case out, because this was in the Daily Mail, and oh my God, the hate the Daily Mail got for this, which is because I'm sure the Daily Mail was just doing this article because it got hits, because it does have how many? Let's see how many comments are on this article. 858 comments. And it's a rather cruel article. And it says, former fitness model Lonnie Wilson, 39, is seen rummaging through LA dumpster for food after becoming homeless addict in wake of split from Baywatch star Jeremy Jackson. And they show horrific pictures of her, which I am going to show. And I may get the same horrifying comments that the Daily Mail got, which is, this woman is in the worst stages of her life, and you are like humiliating her for what? For Daily Mail, for readers. And people are going to say, you're doing this for clicks. I know you just want clicks. I hate your channel. I'm going to, I'm going to unsub. I'm going to show you the pictures. I'm going to show it to you for a reason. This is Lonnie Willison. Lonnie Willison, looking in trash cans for food, homeless in Los Angeles. Okay. This is another picture. Look at her neck and look at her stomach. She is living rough, and she is rough. And oh my God, it's horrifying. Now, I want to show you a picture of her before, because I was just blown away by this picture. Holy crap. That's one of the most beautiful women I have ever seen. She's got a gorgeous figure. She's got a gorgeous face. She's pretty. I mean, super, super pretty. I'm looking at her and thinking supermodel right there. Gorgeous, gorgeous woman. Let's look back at what she looks like now. Same person. Same person. Okay. Why does this upset me? I'm not doing this for clicks. I'm doing this because I hate drugs. My God, I hate drugs. That's what drugs do to you. That's what they do. You know, and anytime I see somebody do any kind of drug, whether even be medically prescribed, I mean, you just got to be incredibly careful about what you accept. I don't care if it's a doctor, because a lot of doctors are drug dealers, in my opinion. Sorry, doctors. But if you keep handing this crap out like candy, you are a drug dealer. And the pharmaceutical companies are drug dealers too. But we have opioids everywhere all over the street. We have fentanyl. We have heroin. We have an incredible amount of stuff out there. And we're now legalizing marijuana everywhere. I don't care if you think, oh, it's just fun. Marijuana's fine. Shut up. I don't care. I'm sick of it. I don't want to see marijuana shops on every corner. I don't. I want to smell marijuana smoke. I don't want to see young people, teenagers, everybody stoned out of their damn minds all the time. Because you do look stoned. You think you look normal? No, you look like a pothead. You act like a pothead. You act stoned. This is my soapbox for today. I hate drugs. Bloody well hate them. And I see a woman that looked like this become somebody who looks like this. And this isn't normal aging. This isn't normal. Hey, you know, you found a different kind of life. You're married with 3 kids. Your tummy's a little bit bigger. You got a little fatter. I don't care. That's what drugs do to you. And on top of that, while she's out there being homeless in LA on the sidewalk, she's supporting the drugs that come in from Mexico, from the cartel. She's supporting the cartels. She's supporting drug use. So she's contributing to this nightmare. I know she's hooked, but she started someplace. And when you start someplace with one drug that you shouldn't have put in your damn mouth, you're contributing to the whole goddamn drug problem. So Daily Mail, yeah, you probably did do it because you're kind of sometimes sleazebaggy paper. Okay, a media outlet. And a lot of times, a lot of your crime information is great, which I have to admit, and it's better than any other outlet out there, which is why I use you a lot. And I'm going to say you probably just put this up there because it was going to get hits. I don't know that you cared. You were probably going, look at that. I do care, but it pisses me off really badly. So I'm not doing that for clicks. And if you want to unsubscribe because you think I'm out of line, be my guest. If I save a few kids, I'm going to be happy. Okay, that's my that's my big soapbox for today. Yeah, look at some of your comments. Yes. All right. Well, there is a truth in that. Let me tell you. I can gain weight in my own home because, I'm not homeless and I'm not on drugs. But man, I would say that's probably the worst way to shed pounds. It really is. It's pretty horrible. Let's see what I say about here. If you're going to exploit someone best, do it to someone who can't fight back. True. But then again, who is responsible for what situation she is in? And I am going to say she is responsible. And everybody, we've got to stop blaming everybody else for making us do drugs. If we do drugs, nobody unless you literally put them in your mouth, or unless you were like, I don't know, you had some absolutely horrific pain situation and your doctor gave you, you had to use a massive amount of drugs to keep the pain away. I'll give you a break on that. But most people are doing drugs for recreation or to lose weight. Some people just do a hell of a lot of drugs to lose weight. That's why they do cocaine. That's why they do meth. That's why they do amphetamines. They want to lose weight, so they look really cool. That's your problem, and that's on you. And when you're doing illegal drugs, you're breaking the law and you're contributing to the drug problem. And then one day you wake up and you're homeless on the street because you're a drug addict. We have to start taking personal responsibility for ourselves and stop blaming everybody else. I'm so sick of the drug problem in this country. I absolutely am. We are drowning in drug. So anyway, I want to talk about this Sweet 16 shooting. And this is interesting because when it occurred in Alabama, let me find my information on it. When it first occurred, it was really strange because they gave so little information on it. And I kept saying, why? It's a mass murder, right? At a Sweet 16 party, and yet it was getting downplayed. Am I right? So this is the story of this. And this is something that really, this is kind of a Dear Pat segment because I'm really bothered by the choices that were made. 6 people, including 4 teenagers, have been arrested. Now, when this first occurred, the Sweet 16 girl was there. Her brother was one that got killed during this shooting. And it made it sound like in the beginning, somebody came in and was a mass murderer. One person came in and shot a bunch of people, right? But then there were these strange things that came out of it. And it says here, the carnage was one of at least 165 U.S. mass shootings with 4 or more shot, excluding a gunman, in the first 4 months of this year. And I'm looking at this case and something didn't ring right to me about the shooting as it being one crazy mass murder dude, right? During the party, this is what happened. The party was in full swing. Party was in full swing when gunfire erupted. Witnesses said Alexis's 18-year-old brother was killed along with another fellow who was 19. He was 18. The other fellow was 19. Then there was a 17-year-old and a 23-year-old that were all killed. Now, okay, so then it said that they're having this vigil. All right. So this is what she said. The family, this is the aunt talking now. The family did not recognize the name of the teenage suspects who were not invited to the party. There's my problem. There is my problem. Your daughter's 16. You're throwing a party for her. Why are there people at that party you do not know? Especially since it's pretty clear to me this wasn't a mass murderer. Listen further. For her sister, LaTanya Allen, which should have been a night of jubilation for her daughter's 16th birthday, instead left to a lifetime of anguish after the death of her 18-year-old son. Phil was shot twice in the neck and died 1 month before his high school graduation, and he'd been looking forward to attending Jacksonville State University on a football scholarship. I just want justice for my baby and all the kids that were involved. They took away a piece of my heart, and I know the other mothers and fathers feel the same way. In addition to the 4 victims killed, another 32 were injured. Among them, at least 15 teens were shot. Okay. Alexis, this is the girl, 16-year-old, had been planning her Sweet 16 for months and starting to feel butterflies in my stomach the day of the party. She went to her brother and sat down on his bed to tell him she was nervous. And he said, don't worry, just go have fun. Hours later at the party, their mother heard a rumor that someone at the venue was armed. Allen made a stern announcement over the speaker. She said, if anyone in here has a gun, then you need to leave because we're here to celebrate Alexis' Sweet 16. Alan and other chaperones, they had chaperones there, other adults were there, scoured the crowd for anyone carrying a gun, but they didn't see one. Then they didn't hear a fight or a disturbance. But right then, as the teens were partying to the music of DJ, gunfire erupted. Now, they have arrested how many people? 6 people were arrested. 6 people. You know how many guns there were? Including one of the guys who died had a gun in his waistband. All right. This is not a mass murder. This is gang-related, some kind of gang-related crap. So, you know, you don't have 6 people coming with guns. They're young people. And these were all like, there was one juvenile, and then the rest of them are like 18, 19, 20. A whole bunch of people with guns, including one of the guys at the party. So here's my problem. I gave a Sweet 16 party for my daughter as well. My Sweet 16 party for my daughter was in my house. I invited, along with my daughter, her friends that I knew each and every one of them. And each and every one of the friends also got to bring their parents. We decorated the entire house. We actually made it a 1920s speakeasy. And the kids they put on like flapper outfits, and the guys had hats. And we took a lot of pictures and made them black and white pictures because it was really cool looking. They had a lot of fun. But not one person entered my house that wasn't somebody I knew and trusted. And my daughter that night got to dance her first dance, her Sweet 16 dance with her dad. And then she danced the second dance with her homeschooling boyfriend. They were all homeschoolers. That is how you have a Sweet 16 party for your child. Or I forgot to pronounce it. Okay, I'm embarrassed now. The 15 for Mexican girls. It's I gotta punch it in here now. Quinceañera. How can I not pronounce that? Quinceañera. I can't pronounce it properly. That's a 15 for like Mexican girls. Theoretically, again, should be done with relatives, family, and good friends. You don't rent a place, open it up with a DJ, open the doors, and don't know who the heck's coming into the doors of your 16-year-old daughter's party. And if you know that she has got friends who are questionable, perhaps involved in gang stuff, I don't care whether you think your daughter's not, and your son is going off to play on a football scholarship. If they know people who are doing stuff that isn't acceptable, shall we say, and dangerous, and you're opening the doors to let them come in, you got your son killed. I'm sorry. And this is where parents do not take proper responsibility. They're trying to be so cool and, hey, we're going to have a party and okay, sure, bring all your friends. Sorry. You got to step up and be a little tougher. You have to make sure your children are safe from drugs, safe from, you can't always protect your kids. But, if you let your 13-year-old go out with some creepy dude and say, she's smart. She won't do anything wrong. She says he's nice. Oh, come on now. Now you stupid. This is your job. This is your job. Your job as an adult is not to do drugs. Your job as an adult is to keep your children from drugs. Your job as an adult is to protect your children. You don't open up your Sweet 16 party to the entire freaking neighborhood when your neighborhood has some people in there you're questioning. And it wasn't just, this is, you have a mother standing up there going, hey, if somebody has a gun, you need to leave. If you have to say that, there's something wrong with what's going on right there. Unbelievable. So you have chaperones. What were the chaperones doing? Maybe you should have a metal detector at the door. It just drove me crazy. I can't remember anyone getting shot at parties when I was growing up. Neither do I. And it's so damn sad. Just makes me angry. Just makes me angry, because there are things you cannot do anything about, but there are things you can. And I'm going to point out a school shooting. I want to read about this school shooting because I thought this was super interesting. And again, talks about something we can do. Let me find it. Okay, here we go. So there was a school shooting. Here are people out on the sidewalk with a memorial. This was a planned attack on a school by a 13-year-old. He targeted the security guard, then the teacher, and then others. Teacher and 6 pupils are in the hospital. A 13-year-old boy gunned down 8 fellow pupils and a security guard in the school on Wednesday in a planned attack. Using 2 handguns that belonged to his father, the boy fired first at the guard and then 3 girls in the hallway, then shot his teacher and classmates in a history lesson. The teacher and 6 pupils were hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. The attacker had 2 guns and 2 petrol bombs and had planned everything carefully. He even had the names of the children he wanted to kill and their classes. All right. He waited for this day, even practiced for this. He was caught. He's put in a psychiatric institute, and they did arrest his mother and father. Good for them. All right. So he first shot the teacher, and then he started shooting randomly. Apparently, the gunman was somehow silent and appeared nice and had good grades. We didn't know much about him. He was not that open to everyone. I would never have expected this to happen. As people always say, they never saw this coming. All right. The security guard died. So he's no longer with us. Now, there's a great point here that was made, and I want to read this great point because I believe this entirely. Where'd my great point go? Hold on. We went to find it. Oh, come on. My great point was here. Seriously? How did my great point disappear? That's the reason I'm reading this, because I love the great point in it. Hold on. Wow. Isn't that interesting? Well, fascinating. I don't know if there's a second article on this. And I found it on the second article. That's very annoying. It was a great comment. Anyway, I can't believe it's missing. Okay. I'm going to point out the comment to you. The comment was that we are filling children's heads with violence through television, through video games, through movies, through almost everything. It's about death. It's about gore. It's about, and I 100% agree with this. I mean, unless you're down to very young children's shows, by the time your kids get to be 10, 11, almost everything is about shooting, death, murder. I grew up on Andy Griffith, you know what I mean? They had a drunken town. Well, the dogs get lost. Lassie, Lassie had a few bad guys in there, but people weren't getting shot and stabbed and mutilated, and we weren't participating as teenagers in shooting people and watching gore. And these things are available everywhere. People aren't paying attention. It's on Twitter. As a matter of fact, hardcore porn is on Twitter. Violence is all over Twitter, and it's in Netflix. It's in everything. So it's on regular TV. So if you leave your child unattended and you're not paying attention to what they're watching, and you're giving them video game after video game of violence, they are experiencing a warlike world and a criminal world on a regular basis that it's not an adult who, like myself, chooses to analyze these kind of things. These are things people are allowing their children to watch and get involved in. And by the way, I just want to point out that this thing seems so familiar. The child going into the school and shooting everyone. This is actually in Serbia. This was not in the US. But we are seeing in other countries who claim that the US is the only ones who have problems with mass murders, we're seeing that spread to countries who have never experienced that before. So we have a lot of children who aren't part of solid families, who are being allowed to raise themselves like wolves in a sense with electronics. And I don't care what anybody says about this. This is my soapbox. We learn from what we see around us. And if we live in a nice environment where we're playing with animals and we're helping out our families and we don't see anything negative, you don't think that way. When I was growing up, I never saw anything about suicide. I didn't know anybody who committed suicide. But just now, by the way, YouTube just demonetized one of my videos on Kurt Cobain because the video said, was it suicide or murder? And I believe he committed suicide. I don't know, somebody reported me, but I got demonetized over that video and I got sent a link that said, if you're considering suicide. And so in other words, their community rules were don't talk about suicide because they're concerned. And I get it, but I get it. They're concerned that more and more teenagers are committing suicide because it's become a thing. And we have young people who have killed other young people because they just want to see what it was like to kill somebody. Where does that idea come from? I grew up with people never with that idea. Nobody even thought that way because we weren't watching that. We were watching the Brady Bunch, the Partridge Family. We never saw anything like that. We didn't have video games. We played table tennis. Advertising. I point this out all the time. Okay, soapbox number whatever tonight. Advertising. The reason you pay a shitload of money to have your tennis shoes, your beer, your car advertised on the Super Bowl is because advertising works, or you wouldn't pay for that. And when kids do nothing but video games that are violent, that is 100% advertising going into their little brains every second of the day. When they watch a violent movie, that the parents don't seem to pay any attention to the fact that they're watching serial killer movies or they're watching just these constant violent movies. They're seeing shooting, stab, shooting, death, all day long. That's advertising. And if you never hear about it, you never see it, you don't think about it. When you watch good stuff, you think about good stuff. When you watch bad stuff, you think about bad stuff. It's so basic. You don't need science for this. You don't need psychology for this. You need basic logic. So if you raise your children without this garbage, probably they're not going to turn out to be psychopaths and murderers. But when you raise your child in an environment which promotes, advertises to them violence constantly, and the issue of suicide is a way to deal with any problem. Now we have a high suicide rate. We have a high violence rate. We have mass murders crossing the world, not just here, crossing the world, because we have to provide an environment that's healthy. And if we're not going to do that, we're not going to get it. Forensic files can be addicting and depressing. Forensic files, yeah. Thank you. A headmistress at a girls' school in the 1920s. Well, okay. Well, that's why I homeschooled, because I couldn't even afford a private school. Anyway, obviously I talk about homicide. I do. And there are shows that talk about crimes, which some of them are very interesting and thoughtful. I'm not against everything. I'm against the amount of it, and I'm against the age of it. I have a granddaughter. She's just turned 9. She comes to my house. We've been watching The Ghost of Mrs. Muir. We're now watching National Velvet. She has seen a lot of Lassie. She's mostly worried about the dog getting hurt. We have watched a lot of old-timey shows. Why? Because I can't find very many shows that are present day that don't make me throw up. And we do art, and we play chess, and we play varying games, and we do everything in my house. I want to be healthy for her. When we go out to go do something, we do things that are healthy, nature, history, down to the art galleries in DC, whatever, anything that's healthy. And I dread that she might be intaking stuff that will hurt her soul, hurt her mind. The world's a tough place, but you don't have to make your kids deal with it when they're 5 years old. I just think that's sad. They shouldn't see any of this stuff, and they should not see any of it. I was very honest and open with my kids when they got to be like old enough, because I homeschooled them, and I was a criminal profiler at the time. And my daughter still jokes about the fact I said, I wanted you to be a teacher of like deaf children. And what happened? She goes, because she became a police officer and a homicide detective. And she goes, "Ma, you were analyzing crimes at your desk." Okay. But that was when she was like a teenager. So see how I influenced her to do good, but still. But I just kept that away from my kids when they were younger. So everything was, about sports and nature and taking care of your brother and sister. And they didn't see that crap. Television was only put on when I allowed it to be put on. So I'm just like, parents, stop saying this isn't affecting your kid, or your kid is smarter and they're not going to get affected by it. Not true. Absolutely not true. Oh, the Waltons. I have to check that one out. I never did. You remember The Ghost of Mrs. Muir? I actually like the television show better than the movie. I love the movie, but the television show, it's just so sweet. It's so much fun. And it's just a happy thing. Really? Let's see. YouTube has strict rules about that. Most true crime channels are demonetized. Seriously? Huh. Well, God, I hope I'm not demonetized, because I'm not making much money to begin with. Please donate to the channel, little dollar sign. There are a few very, very successful true crime channels on YouTube that are making a fortune, and bully for them, that aren't offensive to me. And then there are a lot that are offensive to me that are making really good money, and not bully for them, because I don't like what they're teaching or not teaching, because I find them grifter channels. But I hope they don't demonetize me, because I don't make very much on this channel, but I'm trying not to have to go and do some other kind of work so that I can focus on this. And because I really want to continue doing this. So far, I've had a lot of stuff demonetized in the beginning. They've been quite nice to me since, but I have a couple more titles that had suicide in them, and I just erased the suicide out of the titles, because I'm like, I'm not talking about suicide, like doing it. I'm just analyzing a crime. But I try to be very careful. I never show crime scene photos. I try to keep away from anything that get me demonetized, because you can't afford, this is a lot of work. It's a full-time job, and I'm not making minimum wage. So believe you me, I'm here for you guys. They make most of their money from sponsors. It depends what your sponsor is, and unless you're really well known, you don't get a sponsor anyway. So don't believe that either. 99.75% of YouTubers of millions of channels make zero money. It's that bad. Less than 20.25%, less than a quarter of 1% make any money, and that means they might make $30 a month. So unless you're a big person, you're not going to get money from sponsors. And then I've been offered one sponsorship so far, and I would not. I couldn't approve of that one, because I didn't like the stuff I was selling, so I can't do it. So it has to be something I really like, that I can say to you guys, hey, this is something really nice. If I can't say that, I can't sell it. And I refuse to be one of those people that pretends I have the greatest sheets. They cost $200 a piece, but these sheets make my life different, but I don't even sleep on them. No, I can't do that. Other people can. I can't. I won't promote anything I literally don't believe in, and would think it would be great for you to buy. So sponsors, if you're out there, check me out, but I'm not going to support your whatever unless I like it. So, yeah. Oh, Lord. Really? You can't say that word? No, I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I don't know if they're giving me a break because, quote, educational. I have no idea. It's a matter of who knows what happens next week. I'm just doing the best I can under these circumstances. And so far, YouTube has treated me. I mean, in the beginning, it was bad. They demonetized a whole bunch of my really good stuff. And then they started liking me, and they started monetizing most of my stuff, which still doesn't make me much money, for each one of the videos. But I'm hoping, as I keep going, because I want to do more and more educational stuff. I want to do my profiling school and other stuff when I have the energy to do it, because it's a lot of work. But who knows? I mean, I could get knocked off of the whole, who knows? So far, they've been good to me. That's all I can say, relatively considered. But my whole point is that I don't think comments demonetize people. We don't control that, so I don't think that demonetizes anything. But so anyway, my whole point is, across the world now we're seeing more and more children being involved in violent crime, and a lot of that is because they have access to the internet and they have access to a lot of very, very adult stuff that shouldn't be going into their little brains, and I think that's Diet Pepsi. Hi. No, I do not promote Diet Pepsi. See, now I would not actually promote that. You see, Diet Pepsi is my addiction. Okay. I think it's poison. So there goes my sponsorship. I think Diet Pepsi is poison. Nobody should drink it. You should be drinking healthy water, juices. It's just, I fail. I'm not a perfect human. I wouldn't sponsor it. I would not sponsor it. Would I sponsor tequila? I don't know that I want to sponsor alcohol either. Again, not a healthy thing. But if you're going to buy tequila, buy Tres Generaciones. They didn't pay me for that. I'm trying to think of what I would even sponsor. There are a few things that I really think are really good and I really like. So yeah, it would have to be something that I literally love. I'm gonna look around my kitchen. Love my juicer. I would sponsor Vitamix. Vitamix, best blender ever made. And I've had my Vitamix for so long, I think it's older than me. It's that solid. I love Vitamix. My induction stove. I don't know which one it is. Panasonic? My induction stove. I wanted a gas stove in my house. We couldn't get gas. I hate electric. And so I went for induction because it's supposed to act like a gas stove. Holy crap. I love that stove to death. 10 years I've had the stove. Looks brand new. Boils water in 10 seconds. You can put your hand on it. You can't get burned. Just love it. And induction stove, people, I'll sponsor you. Blender, Vitamix, I'll sponsor you. I'm trying to think of anything else. What's the other thing I would sponsor? The Sunbasket. Sunbasket is one of those delivery things, so they deliver food to your house. You get like three meals. You pick up the 3 meals you want, and then you make them yourself. It comes with all the ingredients. It's a little costly, but then you get the ingredients. You open up and go, I'm going to be making whatever this Israeli whatever dish tonight, and then you make the whole food. And Sunbasket is the only one I've liked so far of any of these delivery services, because they have whoever's making up the recipes. It's fantastic. I've had some really good food that is better than restaurants. So Sunbasket. So there you go. All right, let's go. Let's go on to something else I want to talk about. Speaking of people, oh God, I've got so much stuff. Oh, what time do we have? Oh Lord. Okay, we have time. All right. This is speaking of another another parental thing. Good God Almighty. Where is it? Oh, I talked about this case. Do you remember this case I talked about just the other week? This little boy ended up drowned at his grandmother's house. And then after grandma let the little boy get drowned, her daughter didn't have her around her kids for a while. And then she one day wanted to get her hair done and left her little baby granddaughter. Wait a minute, little baby granddaughter with grandma. And she left her in a car to roast in the garage while she played the piano. So she killed 2 of the woman's kids. it gets more bizarre by the minute. So anyway, she's in court right now. Here's grandma in court. And so they're trying to decide what the heck to do with her because she killed two of her grandchildren over time. All right. Listen to this. Florida woman charged in infant granddaughter's hot car death to be treated at a mental health facility. I'll control myself. A Florida woman charged with aggravated manslaughter in the death of her 7-month-old granddaughter will be receiving treatment or at a mental health hospital following a Thursday court hearing. Tracy Nix, 65. Now, mind you, one of the things I object to horrendously is the concept that people of a certain age should somehow be always called, she is a grandmother and she did kill her grandkids. But a lot of times people of a certain age, in order for people to look at them more kindly, instead of just saying, Pat Brown, age 67, ran drugs for the Mexican cartel, they'll say, Pat Brown, a grandmother, ran drugs for as if because I'm a grandmother, I'm somehow less evil because I'm older. Look, if you're evil at 67, then I would have been evil at 40 and I would have been evil at 20. In other words, psychopathy doesn't change. Just because you're older doesn't mean you're not a psychopath anymore. It just means you change your methodologies one way or the other. Anyway, so she's going to receive treatment. 60, she's even younger than me, 65, is accused of leaving this little girl in a hot car after she returned home from taking the infant to lunch with friends. And then she went and played the piano, talked to her dog. She played the piano for a long time before remembering, my granddaughter's still in the car. Now, unless this woman 100% has Alzheimer's, and I say this because we have another case recently where the grandmother supposedly opened the door, left a door open to from the house to the patio, which had a pool, and two kids went outside and drowned. And they're saying, "Oh, a grandmother with Alzheimer's left the door open." And I'm like, if your mother has Alzheimer's, you don't leave her in charge of your children ever. And secondly, you don't have an ability for her to open the door. And thirdly, you don't have a pool right next to the door, which isn't covered, fenced off, and protected from these small toddler children. So mother and daddy, I don't know what's wrong with you, but I don't even know that grandma killed those kids because I don't know if I believe your story. Maybe you're just blaming it on grandma. But unless she's proven to have Alzheimer's and she shouldn't have the kids, then she's probably a psychopath. Now, if she had forgotten one kid, maybe, but she'd already killed the first kid. All right, so not even a year earlier, Nix's other grandchild, 16-month-old Ezra Shock, drowned while in her care after she fell asleep. Supposedly opened doors. He's 60 months old. He opens doors. The kid's not even a year and a half. He opened a door, went under a fence, and wandered into a pond and drowned. She should have been in prison for the rest of her life right there and then. But no, this was just a year ago. Apparently, after her daughter got over her drowning her son, a year later, I didn't want her around any of my kids, but I got to get my hair done. Here, Grandma, let's go kill another one. Because she's so trustworthy. While in court, it's reported that Nix's husband asked Hardy County judge to allow her to go to an inpatient facility in St. Cloud for 30 days and hope she would open up and talk about what happened. I would just like to see her get help. No, she's a murderer. She murdered 2 innocent children. She doesn't need help. She needs a prison sentence that's called lifelong. Get this one. She is very smart, an intelligent person. She has a psychology degree. She's so smart and intelligent, has a psychology degree that she killed 2 children. No. She's smart and intelligent and has a psychology degree because she's probably a psychopath, probably Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and gets a kick out of killing children to get attention. Oh, Lord. But the fact she's not talking tells me she needs someone that can help her work through these issues. Issues. They're not issues. They're dead children. Issues are I could come up with 10 different things issues are. These are dead children. All right. Then her attorney, she's having a hard time discussing the incident with her husband. What? She can't come up with enough lies? With any other people, that includes her attorneys, because she can't come up with enough lies. As we all very know, this could be proved to this could be a competency issue. In other words, they're trying to prove she's incompetent so she doesn't go to prison. Okay. Now, it says earlier that Kayla said that the couple trusted her mother. This is the daughter. This is the mother of the 2 dead children. The couple trusted her mother to watch their children and hoped to be able to salvage their relationship after her young son drowned in her mother's care. She wanted to salvage their relationship. Mommy, I know you killed my kid, but let's work through it and I'll get over it. Okay. Maybe if you could believe the first one was accidental. But when she kills your second kid, first of all, the second kid should never, ever, 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 ever have been in her care. Ever. You're getting your hair done. You don't have girlfriends who can watch your kid. You can't pay a babysitter. You're going to say, oh, grandma, you killed one kid. maybe the daughter is tired of kids too. I don't know. Now, here's the kicker, folks. Here's the kicker. As court adjourned, Kayla, here's the picture. Where's the picture? Here's the picture. Kayla embraced her parents using the words, I miss you so much. Either her daughter is completely, having been raised under her mother's care, who is clearly to me a Munchausen syndrome psychopath, has bought everything her mother's ever said and has fallen for it and is in her mother's clutches. Or social services should come in and take the third child. I think they have one more child. Should take that third child away for the safety of the third child, because the mother herself has, in my opinion, has committed neglect. When she left her daughter with the killer grandmother, that was neglect. Maybe she should go to prison too. And the fact she's now hugging her mommy up, forgiving her mommy for the murder of her 2 children. Unbelievable. Nix will appear in court again on June 22nd. If she is found guilty of aggravated manslaughter, she could face a minimum sentence of 12 years and a maximum of 35 years. I'll go for the 35 years because then you'll be 100. You should stay there in prison the rest of your life. Oh my God. It's just, wow. Well, that's all you can say, Kelly. Salvage their relationship. Oh my God. I mean, oh my God. The daughter's a whack. Michaela says she's a good daughter. There's an interesting point, Emily. Stockholm syndrome. It's an interesting concept because Stockholm syndrome, in case you don't know what Stockholm syndrome is, somebody like, Patty Hearst supposedly got kidnapped by what was it? The Symbionese army. It's been so long, I forgot the name of that stuff, and kept in captivity. And then she joined them and started, holding a gun and going. I don't know what they did get. I can't remember the whole story. Was it bank robberies or something? But she joined the army. And there are people who, when they are kidnapped and kept in confinement by somebody, that somebody becomes the only human being in their life. And that human being is the one they depend on for literally everything. It could be food, entertainment, fresh air. Somebody will bring them a puppy. Somebody might bring them crayons. Somebody might have sex with them, and that sounds sick, but sex is touching. And that might be something less boring than the rest of your day in the shed they put you in. And at a point in time, you can get a weird relationship with your captor. And this also happens in marriages, mind you. There's a Stockholm syndrome in a lot of marriages, both male and female, whatever it is, that when you can't leave or feel you can't leave, you have to identify to some extent with the person who is keeping you captive so that you can survive the situation and make the best of the situation. So in this situation, the girl, while she was growing up, in theory could be there, but she's left that home. She has a husband. Why is she still finding a need to please her mummy, who is obviously somebody you want to run as far away from as you can get? And I don't know that. It's clearly that daughter needs some serious psychological help to find out whether she too has some massive issues of concern, whether she might be herself Munchausen by proxy and get a kick out of getting attention, or whether she's so wound up trying to please her mother that she can't let go of that in spite of the fact her mother's killing her kids. She needs some check on that. What was the name of it? Symbian Liberation Army, whatever they named themselves. Okay, this Linda says maybe the daughter cannot actually believe that her mother would intentionally kill one of her children, and that is possible. I think that's reasonable. Denial is very dangerous. Yes, that's true. Parents can control you. That is true. The first time around, even then, the weird thing about the first time around is that the child wasn't even 1.5 years, but he could open doors, go under fences, and drown in ponds. That's a lot of stuff for a child who's not even 1.5 years to do. I don't know that I believe that was an accident. First of all, if you fall asleep, usually what you do, if you're going to sleep and you've got a kid under the 1.5 years, the 1.5 years kid is in a crib. The 1.5 years kid is in playpen. The 1.5 years kid is in some locked situation, hopefully right with you. But if you let a 1.5 years kid just wander around the house by himself while you supposedly take a nap in another room, I'm going to say, I don't believe your story. I don't believe he opened the door, walked so far, went under a fence and drowned. I'm going to say she may well have drowned him. Now, the second child, she goes out with the child and with friends. She's driving back with the grandchild. This is her first chance to be with her granddaughter. Now, think about this. This isn't like, you know how sometimes parents are driving the kids back and forth to work, and you've got a bunch of kids and you drop one off and you don't realize you haven't dropped the other one off, and you go in a store or something and they die in the car. I can understand that you just lost kind of control of where you were going when and how many kids were with you, especially if one wasn't supposed to be with you that day. This was the first time that grandma got to be with her granddaughter after she killed the other one. First time. First of all, I don't even know why she wants to see her friends when maybe she wants to sew the grandchild off. Fine. But you should be so excited you're with that grandchild. That grandchild is in the car with you. You should be chit-chatting with it. Hey, we're heading home, honey. All that kind of crap. You get home. What do you want to do? You want to bring that child in with you so you can play with that grandchild that you have not seen for a year. And you want to be the best grandmother possible so that your daughter will trust you in the future. But instead, as you drive home, you forget completely about the grandchild in the car. Go in, play with your dog, play piano for hours until the granddaughter's dead. I don't believe it. I think she is a straight up psychopathic killer. And I stand by that. And she should be in prison the rest of her life. Yeah, it sounds fishy to you. It sounds fishy. It sounds extremely fishy. Oh, Lord. My 1-year-old brother opened a balcony door that adults had trouble opening when he's supposed to be napping. So it's not impossible. But the fact 2 kids died on our watch. Yeah, it's sus. Yeah. Yes, can it happen? I'm not saying it can't happen. What I'm saying is that if you're watching somebody else's kid, and I know this from watching my granddaughter, I'm paranoid. I tell her that too. I'm paranoid. Why? I have 1 grandchild. My daughter has 1 daughter. She entrusts that grandchild to me. I pick her up from school. I take her on field trips. I bring her to my home. I watch her like a hawk. I make sure when we get she gets in the car, I make sure the seatbelt is on. I make sure I drive the speed limit. I talk about driving safely to her. So when she gets to be a teen, she won't screw up. When we get out of the car, I make sure that she looks both ways before we cross the street, even if we're in a crosswalk. Why? And I'm like, Annabelle, I have to be super careful with you. Your mother trusts me to take care of you, and I can't let anything happen to you. I can't. Your mother wouldn't, your mother trusts me to make sure you're safe. So we cannot do things that are unsafe. So I am ultra careful, as I should be, because I'm being entrusted with my grandchild. Now, I know as a parent, when you have a bunch of kids, you get a little sloppier. you do. I get it. It's 24 hours a day. Sometimes you lose your mind. You fall asleep. All kinds of things happen. But your grandmother, I would say most grandmothers, if they're doing the job right, are overprotective. And I don't believe this grandmother. I believe she was a murderer. I'll stand by that. I absolutely stand by that. Maybe she has narcolepsy. She didn't have narcolepsy when she was playing the piano or talking to her doggie. Yeah, no. Thank God that wasn't my mom. No, she was a good grandmother. My grandmother was, when she helped with my granddaughter for the little short period of time that my husband was in the Army, she was really good. So, yeah, but crazy story, crazy. I mean, but okay. So we're in the. There you go. My mother had an acquired brain injury. She was never left in charge of my son. Excellent. Now that doesn't mean that she can't be in your life. You can have grandmother come over and spend the day, go on field trips, go to school concerts, go to sports events. She can sleep over at your house. She can go on vacation with you. She can do tons of things with you and the grandchild. She just can't be alone with the grandchild. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. All right, I want to talk about this case, and then I'm going to talk about two that were requested before I run out of time. Okay, but I got to talk about this other crazy one. Is this one. All right. This is, let me find it. All right. Those two girls were murdered. Ivy Webster, Brittany Brewer, and the guy that murdered him is that thing on the right, Jesse McFadden. All right. 7 bodies found on Henrietta property amid search for 2 missing teenagers. So 2 teenagers went missing. They found 7 bodies on this property. All right. An endangered missing person advisory was issued by officials for these 2 girls. They stated that the authorities believed that the 2 were with 39-year-old Jesse McFadden. And I'm going to get into what makes this case so upsetting to me. They confirmed 7 bodies were found on the property. The bodies are believed to be those of the 2 missing teenagers, McFadden and 4 others. All right. Online records show McFadden was supposed to be in court on Monday on child porn charges, and that he had been convicted of sex crimes. He was a sex offender. He was a registered sex offender, and he was now going to court for more offenses against children. He was convicted of first-degree rape in 2003. Now, first-degree rape is what Whoopi Goldberg would call rape. I kind of agree with Whoopi on that one. Anyway, rape. In other words, first degree is solid, grab somebody, rape the crap out of them type of thing. We're not talking about some sexual assault, which could be minor, something. And when I say minor, folks, don't jump over me. There's no such thing as a minor sexual assault. This is a sexual assault. Okay. That's what I call minor. That's happened to me. I was in a gas station. Walked into a gas station. Some dude, as I was walking out, went, okay. I was pissed. I mean, I got in my car and I was driving away going, hey, that's me. I was pissed. He's a creep. That's not first degree sexual assault. Okay. It was unpleasant. I didn't remember the burning feeling because I was angry. And I don't know about that guy and other people. But when this guy is put there for first degree, he's a danger. He's a massive danger. He's a psychopathic serial predator, a serial sex predator. So he got now listen to this. I swear these cases are just mind-boggling. He was convicted of first-degree rape in 2003. All right. Oklahoma Department of Corrections, online records, online records. I want to point out the thing about online records. God, do I love them. Because every state should have online records that are easy to find. And it pisses me off when I find a state and I put in somebody's name and I can't come up with the criminal record. In my opinion, if you commit a crime, it should be there. And you shouldn't have to fight to look for it or pay money for it. It should just be there. You can put my name in and you can't find me because I'm not there. And I don't like the fact that you have to go to each state and do it. I want to put in a name. If I know the exact name, date, birth date, and all that kind of crap, I want to find out how many states they've committed crimes in. Because like in my area, Maryland is online. DC, Washington, DC, I don't think it's online yet. Virginia, I think, is now online, but they used to have, you had to go to every separate county. It was ridiculous. There are many states that aren't online at all. You can't find out if the guy's a creep. However, they're saying right here, Oklahoma Department of Corrections online records show that he was sentenced to a 20-year term. 20 years. You ain't touching one boob. Okay? This is serious sex crime. And discharged October 2020. So he was in prison for 17 years for a first-degree rape charge. The guy is a sexual predator, a serial rapist. Not a serial killer necessarily, but a serial rapist, okay? Which is a psychopath and very dangerous. All right, now, here is the thing that drives me crazy. All right, let me go to the other article on this, because this is where it gets weird. And this is where I think you got to be kidding me. All right. Because that was the first one I read. I'm like, oh, maybe these girls got kidnapped. They weren't kidnapped. Now, the title of this article is Oklahoma Woman. Sex offender controlled my daughter's family. Wow. Okay, let's see how he controlled the daughter's family. As law enforcement officials went silent while investigating what led to the killing of 7 people in rural Oklahoma, family members of the slain were called the domineering nature of one of the dead who was a recognized registered sex offender. Now, we're in 2023. He was released in 2020. He's an online serial sex offender. He was only out of prison 3 years. So whoever was involved with him hooked up with him really quickly, even though he had a criminal record and was online as a sex offender. Since announcing the bodies, not a lot of information is out there. However, they were all shot to death. Okay, this is what happened. Listen to this. Jeanette Mayo was the first to say publicly that her daughter and 3 teenage grandchildren were among the dead. Those are the other 4. You remember the 2 girls who went missing? Those were the 2 teenagers who were shot. Then the sex offender shot himself. That's 3. The other 4 were the sex offender's wife and the 3 children. Well, she's his wife. She married him after he got out of prison as a sex offender. All right. McFadden had been controlling, which had concerned her. No shit, Sherlock. But she said the family didn't learn about her son-in-law's criminal history until a few months ago. But your daughter probably knew. And why was she with this guy? She had children. Why did she hook up with a guy who just got out of prison and go live with him with her children? He lied to my daughter. You think? He's a sex predator? Psychopath. What'd you expect? And he convinced her it was all just a huge mistake. Remember I talked about desperation? So a guy's in prison for 17 years for a first-degree sex offense, and you believe him? It was a mistake, honey. So you hook up with him, move in with him, bring your children in with him because you believe him? How desperate are you? Stupid too, but desperate. He was very standoffish, generally very quiet, but he kept my daughter and the kids basically under lock and key. He had to know where they were at all times, which sent up red flags, but not enough for her to get the hell out of there, for you to get them out of there. So anyway, let's see what the others. Now, it continues to be Interesting. All right. So the victims were her daughter, Holly Guest, 35, her grandchildren, 17, 15, and 13. And two of them have different names. I don't know how many times this woman had husbands, but okay. Mayo said Tiffany. Oh, wait a minute. Tiffany was the 13-year-old, and she was close friends. Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Holly Guest, 35. I'm totally confused here. Hold on a second. Was she married to the dude or not? The woman that was named Holly Guest, 35, her grandchildren, okay, her children were Alan, the last names, Alan, Mayo, and Guest. Okay, so she had 3 kids, but they were from 3 different men, obviously. The youngest one, 13, Tiffany, was close friends with Ivy and Brittany, the poor teenagers who ended up dead because of their friendship. Okay. Now, Ivy's father, it just gets worse and worse. Ivy's father, Justin Webster, said he filed a missing persons report when she didn't return home after spending the weekend with McFadden, Guest, and her children. He thought the children went with McFadden to spend some time on a ranch where he was working near McAllister. Okay, let's see. Your child, not only did he not know this guy well, he said this. He said he didn't know about McFadden's criminal background. Well, maybe you should have done a little search before you sent your teenage daughter off with a complete stranger. He also said he was controlling and unusual. I would say he was weird. You sent your daughter off with a freaking weirdo. What the hell are you thinking? Now, if your daughter was friends with one of the girls that was living there, you invite that girl over to your house because you know who you are. You don't send your daughter over to some stranger's house who you think is weird, controlling, and freaky. What the heck? That's a parental responsibility I keep talking about. So when I was raising my kids, my daughter had a few friends, and my sons had a few friends in town whose parents were sketchy. They were never allowed to go to their houses, ever. Because some of these sketchy people, I didn't know if they were doing drugs. I didn't know if they were psychologically damaged. I didn't know if they had boyfriends or girlfriends who were freaks. I wasn't going to send my kids to their house. I only sent my kids to somebody's house who I trusted 100%. But I did allow the kids to come to my house and give them a safe place for them to spend time. And their parents usually didn't care because their parents were sketchy. They didn't care if the kids came to my house. I was a free babysitter, right? And they thought, oh, she's cool. I sent them off to me. But at least I kept my kids safe. So he sent his daughter off to be with a freak who was a sex predator. Lord. So anyway, the reason he was going to court, mind you, he was soliciting charges of soliciting sexual conduct with a minor in possession of child pornography. Court records show he was communicating with a then 16-year-old girl using a contraband cell phone while he was incarcerated at a state prison. So even in prison, he was still a sex predator, you see. Anyway, he's dead, so thank God for that at least. What do you think a sex predator is doing to your children and your children's friends? I'm sorry, I have no respect for the woman who went to live with him and brought her children. I don't have much respect for the man who sent his kids over there to some stranger's house who is a creep. I mean, what the heck are you all thinking? The children are your responsibility to protect. Okay? And parents, you got to do a better job. It's just sad. These children can't protect themselves. That's why they have parents. Now, once your kids grow up and they do stupid crap, there's nothing you can do about it. But if they're in your care and in your home, I'm sorry. That is your responsibility. Lord. Linda says, I was just screaming to my husband, you mean McFadden was her son-in-law? Oh my God, there are no words for the stupidity of the woman who married him. I never allow sleepovers. And yeah, sleepovers are something you should only allow if you 100% trust who they're sleeping over at. If you at that, I mean, I'm sorry. Let me have some more Diet Pepsi. Not a promotion. I'm getting no money. I understand that people, you want to live life. You do. You want to live life. So occasionally there are times when you decide, I think these people are trustworthy. I want my kids to have fun. I want them to go to a slumber party. I want them to spend time with people. Maybe they got an invitation to go someplace nice. I know we take kids, my daughter takes kids like to the beach because we have a condo at the beach. Not me. She does. Not me. But they've taken friends of my granddaughter to the beach because people really trust them. It helps that my daughter is a police officer, a detective, and has worked in child abuse and sex crimes. So I'm pretty sure they trust my daughter 100%. And you can't not do anything in life, but you cannot be stupid. That's the other thing. Just cannot be stupid. Oh, Lord. Well, okay. You don't want the kids sneaking out at the window at 2 a.m. That's true. You don't. But if you provide a good enough life for your kids, they don't sneak out the window at 2 a.m. That's personally my opinion. Now, has it ever happened? Your kids can do dumb crap. They can. I'm not saying you can prevent everything, but you cannot send your child to a sex predator's house. You can find other ways. Remember I said the Sweet 16 party? Yeah, I had that in my house, and it was super fun. I still think all the kids remember that as a great party. We did what we could to make sure our children had a great time, that their lives were fulfilling, that they didn't have to seek thrills elsewhere. So I think if you're involved, my granddaughter's involved in Girl Scouts. She is now learning Western riding. She's doing barrel racing. She just turned 9. She's doing barrel racing. It's really cool. She loves horses. And she has a good life. She's got a grandmother, grandfather. This is different grandmothers and grandfathers, and good parents and great friends. I hope as she gets older, she doesn't need to sneak out a window. I hope that she has enough interesting things in her life and love in her life that she doesn't feel a need to do that. And I'm not saying you can prevent everything, I'm not that ignorant or that arrogant, shall I say. Things happen, and then you have to deal with it. But you can make choices for your kids that don't put them in danger. I just think you have to. You have to find some way for them to have a good time so they don't have to go out windows. Yes, he is. Yeah. Thank God for that. I'm pretty sure that somebody, probably what sadly happened at that house is he started sexually assaulting somebody, and somebody objected, and he shot them, and then he was doomed. So he shot everybody, and then he shot himself. I'm sorry. That's kind of what happens. Speaking of, I want to talk about this because I was asked to do this case, and so I want to talk about it. Where is he? Oh, here we are. Brandon Lawson. I was asked to talk about the case of Brandon Lawson. This is a case that won't take a whole show, so I decided I would talk about the case. Wait. Before I get there, I know I forgot. I'm going to get there. Sorry. I want to do 2 quick things before I do that case, because I think it's going to be my last thing for this evening. But I did want to mention Scott Peterson. I forgot to do it. This was going to be my opening thing, and I forgot to do it. Scott Peterson says he, sorry. Something's in my throat. He has proof of innocence in his 2004 murder. Now, he's been trying to prove his innocence forever. They didn't kill his wife and his unborn baby. And his lawyer, Mark Garagos, who lost the case with him when he went to trial, and he still thinks he's innocent, but I have no love for Mark Garagos, so that's a whole nother story. But, okay, Mark, you're wrong. But anyway, right now he has his sister-in-law is like obsessed with this, and she has been fighting to get Scott get him a new trial forever and ever. Now she sorry, she is obviously not Lacey Peterson's family. She is Scott's brother's wife, And so this is a picture, by the way. This is from prison. He had a green screen behind him, and so he's trying to pretend he's like talking with his family and with his brother and his sister-in-law and his mom. His mom's dead, and his daddy. And he's like, "Oh, hi, everybody. I'm really innocent. I'm just here on a nice in front of some nice woods, trying to get another trial." And but what's interesting is the sister-in-law. Her mission is to free Scott because she believes he's innocent. His parents believe he's innocent. They've got a whole website. I mean, you can just put in you just put Scott Peterson website, and the website is brilliantly done so that they ask so many questions. By the time you're finished, you go, "My God, this guy must be innocent." He's trying to get a new hearing. He's trying to get out. He got off a death row, which sucks. So he's now got life. But now he's he's appealing for a new trial. And some of the claims are like one of the jurors had been pregnant herself and had some restraining order against her boyfriend. So she was biased. So they should never have let her be on the jury. Okay, like everybody on the jury thought he was guilty. Yeah, so it really had no effect. And then there's this claim that there was this story that there was a burglary across the street, and Lacey said to burglars, "I see you," and so they kidnapped her and didn't know what to do with her. Then they killed her, and then they found wherever Scott was hanging out and decided to frame him, or they just got lucky and just drove a really long way and dumped her in the water. It just happened to be where Scott was fishing. Anyway, so what I want to point out is this. If this case goes back to court, he may well get off. When you have near 2 decades pass and you have people putting out these what ifs for a really long time, there are people, sister-in-law says, 14 people saw Lacey and the dog. And she was on Dr. Phil, and as much as I dislike Dr. Phil, he did ask a couple good questions. He said, did 14 people actually say it was Lacey and the dog, or just somebody, what did they actually say? She goes, well, they thought it might be Lacey. It was either a pregnant woman or a fat woman. And he's like, so you actually know 14 people actually said they saw Lacey, just somebody who could have been. And then she stumbled around. So they bring up these things as if they're true. And what all you need is if you can get some stupid reason for the trial to be redone, then you get a new, as I say, the jury system is 12 people off a bus stop, not insulting the people, but they're untrained people, as if you got them off a bus stop. And all you need is one or two who think, oh, that could be true, and it's done. The second time he's found not guilty, and he walks free. Do I think he's guilty? Absolutely. Watch my video on Scott Peterson. But even when I go to the site, Scott Peterson's, the whole site, they have all this information on there. They're very good. It's a defense-driven thing, so it's easy to just, yeah, that must be true. You know, wow, I don't know. I can't answer that question. And it gets you confused, and after a while, you start thinking, maybe the guy didn't do it. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. I wish Scott Peterson should be fully rehabilitated as well. He should have been, but they let him off of the rehabilitation. Yeah, he did have a weird flat affect. He did, and he acted guilty as hell, extremely. But you see, when time passes, a weird thing happens. When it's not right then, when you look back in the past, everybody seems like it doesn't have the power it had back then. And with all the incoming information and kind of recreating of history, and the person being older or wiser and having 20 years with a defense team to figure out exactly what to say to screw everybody over and screw up their brains, you start thinking, maybe they're not guilty. And I understand why people start thinking that, because they weren't there when it happened. They didn't hear the original stuff. They didn't hear the trial. So now what they're getting is 100% defense driven. And defenses are very good at pushing all this stuff. All right. I also want to talk about, because I didn't get a chance to talk about this, which I meant to right up front, as what's her face. This is the Trump's rape accuser. And again, let me say over and over again, it's not a political channel. I don't care if you love or hate Trump. Not anything to do with that. What I have an issue with is civil claims, not criminal claims, against a person for what they supposedly, a crime they supposedly committed decades ago. This happened with Bill. Yeah, him. Why did I forget Bill's last name? Oh, the Alzheimer's is struck. God, somebody give me his last name. I just blank in here. I was because I'm thinking of a bunch of people who've had these claims against them. When you come out years later, thank you. So horrible. Bill Cosby. Yes, I did do. This is my point. I say that every time. Okay, girl named Tom. Go to YouTube, and all you have to do in the search is put profiler Pat Brown, Sandra Melger. I did that already. I already did a whole video on it. So put that in, you'll get the video. So, Cosby. This is not a political channel. I'm not going to Clinton. Stop, people, stop. Cosby, Bill Cosby. The claim is that he did all these things years ago. Nobody ever filed criminal charges against him. Now we have a whole bunch of he said, she said, and once you have one come out and say something, then the defense attorney looks for others who will then jump on board. And oftentimes people will jump on board for many reasons. One is because they want attention, they want money. Who knows? Maybe they actually think maybe something did happen. But the problem is we can't tell so far away unless you have, like, the guy confessed on let's say 20 years later, you get the guy to confess on tape. I'm sorry, I raped you back in 1959. Okay, fine, arrest the dude. I don't have a problem with that. But you don't have that. It's a claim. So one of the things that I was asked to talk about, and I'll talk about this first, and I'll talk about the other one because I think it's interesting. So Sky Ricky asked me to talk about there's this civil case against a now retired gynecologist. Where was he? Indiana doctor. I'm not going to give his name because, see, this pisses me off because it's a civil suit. Medical malpractice suit filed against Indiana OBGYN, accused of taking pictures of women during exams. 3 medical providers targeted for failure to report. Now, my question is here. He had his license suspended in March, supposedly. He's accused of photographing women's genitalia without the permission. He also is accused of inappropriate behavior during pelvic exams, including not wearing gloves or ordering unneeded medical tests. Now, the lawsuit filed Friday lists 83 women identified as Jane Does. Each includes her age and said when they were treated by him. All right, I'm not going to give the name. He is retired. Now, here's something that somebody said. The lawsuit claims. Now, this could be evidence if this is true. Claimed that there was actual and constructive knowledge and they were on notice, the hospitals, of allegations of medical negligence and abuse of female patients. I also don't know if that is true. I don't know whether their complaints were true or not. The suit said that women suffered emotional distress, mental trauma, and humiliation. All right, let me read you one thing that one of the women said happened. That one patient that they're talking about says in April 2022, she was sexually assaulted by Dr. Moore during an examination, had photographs taken of her private area without consent. Now, if they find his iPhone has 5,000 pictures of vaginas, I'm going to say the guy's a skis bag, and he should be arrested, criminally arrested, not just civil, criminally. But she said that he touched her privates in a manner she felt, now this is important, she felt was sexual. I don't know what that means, because here's the problem. When you get a vaginal an exam, okay, a vaginal exam, there's a lot of touching things going on there, okay, and there's examinations of different areas. I'm not going to get graphic, but looking for lesions, looking for rashes, looking for all kinds of things. And even with a female gynecologist, she may be doing all kinds of things. All right. She felt it was sexual. Well, that's in your mind. I don't know that it was sexual, or is it in your mind? Now, there are things that could be obviously sexual, but I'm not hearing that here. I performed an examination longer than normal. Well, I don't know. Did he do a more thorough examination because she seemed to be an older woman? Maybe there were more issues he was concerned about because of her age, and asked her questions about her ability to pleasure herself. Now, again, the woman's older. Was he concerned about dryness? Were they talking about her ability to have sex? And did she have problems hormonally? All these can be normal questions. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, I don't know if that's what I call sexual assault. Now, could he be a sleazebag? Absolutely. And I will say I had one experience when I was 21. I went out to a club with a friend. I hadn't had too much to drink, but I can't remember what it was because it was so many years ago. Was it trouble breathing or something weird? So I came into one of these all-night clinics. The doctor takes me back, and I guess I was dressed, I wouldn't say provocatively, but out for the evening look, you know what I mean? And I was 21 and cute. And he was supposed to be, checking my breathing, all that. And then he started giving me a breast exam. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he goes, well, every woman always needs to have a proper breast exam. I'm like, I'm here because I can't breathe. I'm not here for a yearly woman's checkup. And I at that point I got off the table and I said, you're a freaking pervert. And I went out and told the nurse, that doctor's a pervert. And I was pissed. I don't ever remember reporting because I was 21 and just walked away. Was that a sexual assault? Yes, it was. Because I did not need a breast exam at 2:00 in the morning for a breathing issue. Creepy dude. Now, there could be 80 more women who had the same experience. But the problem is, until I find out what the evidence is, I don't know that I can say the guy's guilty. So I'm not going to give his name because I don't know. I honestly don't know. So a lot of times when you get civil suits too, you can get a few people involved in that, and then you can get people to exaggerate and say things because they don't like the guy or they think there's money in it. So it gets really tricky. So Bill Cosby kind of thing like that. Was there really proof? In my opinion, no. Do I think he gave them Quaaludes? Yes. Do I think they took the Quaaludes probably on purpose? Yes. Why did they take the Quaaludes? Because they already knew they were at his house and they were going to have sex with him. And they end up having sex with him. Now they claim that he raped them. I personally think he's a horn dog. I don't know if there's any proof that he raped them. And so this is the problem when you get civil versus criminal. So now let's go to what's her face? What's her face? Okay, Carroll. So she has claimed, in her civil trial that, Donald Trump raped her in a dressing room. But she didn't seem to have a problem with him until she wrote a book about him. She was a massive fan of The Apprentice. She told the jury she used to make jokes about Trump, make funny jokes, and say, how much would you need to get paid? Would it take $17,000 to have sex with him? Well, that's not, in my opinion, somebody who's been sexually assaulted does not usually make jokes like that and say that she thinks the guy's really cool. That is not normal for a rape victim. And you can go on and say, well, everybody's got a different way of being, after they've been assaulted. But I'm going to say everything she says is questionable. Let me say a couple more things. She's suing Trump because he said that it was a hoax. And that's what got her. This is not a trial about him raping her. It's a trial of defamation. But she said about him, now listen, in 2012, which is way after she supposedly got raped by this guy, and when she said she got raped by him, she said that, first of all, I'll link my thing on the whole rape issue and how I think it's physically impossible for what she was even trying to claim. But she said it destroyed her whole life and she could never date again. Now, mind you, she's 50. She's not like a virginal 20-year-old. And again, this was the concept of what this rape was. Thinking something happened under 2 minutes, and she didn't even know how far She didn't even know if she thought a finger went in her, and then she said she had a penis went in her, but she didn't. A little bit, or maybe more, and then for a second, and then it sounded very fishy whether anything actually went in her, because from the standing position she was in, I couldn't even believe that it even happened. But even if it did, she supposedly never date. She couldn't date after that. Destroyed her whole life. Blah blah blah. Now, mind you, she was an advice columnist, and she always advised people who were raped go to the police. She never did, and she always advised people if anything happened to them, they should go to a psychologist, which she never did. She never got any therapy. She never went to the police. So she's an advice columnist. She didn't follow anything, and this 2-minute thing supposedly ruined her entire life. I guess that doctor who gave me the unnecessary breast exam ruined me forever. I mean, some of this is just hyperbole. I mean, I know that things can affect people in different ways, and I'm not trying to downplay sexual assault, but there are levels of sexual assault, and there are levels of how old you are and what conditions. She was flirting. So her claim was she was flirting with them, and they went into the ladies' dressing room, which meant she had to be involved in this, because you don't go into a ladies' dressing room unless you're planning to have some kind of sex with a guy. Any woman who goes into a ladies' bathroom with a man, or a ladies' dressing room with a man, is definitely planning to do a little sex play. And then theoretically, she got some sex play, if that's even happened at all. And now she's claiming she's been horribly raped and could never function again. But in 2012, which is way after this happened, she acknowledged praising the show, The Apprentice, on Facebook while it was still on the air. I'm a big fan of the show, very impressed by it. I've never seen such a witty competition, and it was something worthwhile about competing. Okay, so a guy that she has ruined her life and raped her, she's perfectly happy to say, what a great show. Then she was also asked in a 2012 post, about another 2012 post, she asked people whether they would have sex with Trump for $17,000 and could keep their eyes closed during it. What rape victim thinks it's fun to joke about getting money to have sex with somebody that raped them? Yeah. She said, it's much better to laugh than cry. Oh, come on now. You can laugh about other things, but you don't make jokes about the guy who raped you, and say he's a great guy and have fun with it. That is just not normal. Also, she kept shopping at Bergdorf Goodman. That was a store she supposedly got raped in, which is a high-end store, which has too many people asking if you need help all the time to even believe this happened. But she keeps shopping there. She goes, it's not a place I'm afraid to enter. Okay. Then she said that why had she sued Trump, but not the former CBS CEO, Les Moonves, I can't pronounce his name, who also denied her claim that he once sexually assaulted her. So she claimed another guy sexually assaulted her, but she didn't sue him. Oh, he just denied it. He didn't call me names. Oh, so what? You're not suing over the rape part. You're suing over the fact that Trump said you weren't attractive. I mean, really? Oh my God. Now, he also asked her a question why she never reported to the police, and all that stuff. Okay, let's see. Then also the other interesting thing here is that, let's see. This has come up a number of times. The lawyer asked Carroll about a decade-old Law and Order Special Victims Unit episode in which a character talks about role-playing a rape scenario in a dressing room at Bergdorf Goodman. Carroll told Tacopina that she had learned about the episode after she went public, but had never seen it. Wow, what a quinky-dink. Now, let me tell you something. When people come up with fake stories, the way they do it is to base it on something real. It's hard to come up with a real, true fake story. And I'll tell you this about fiction writers. A lot of times you read fiction, it's not that fictional. The fiction writer is using a lot of nonfiction from their own lives and knowledge to write the fiction. Otherwise, you can't write it. So a lot of times you take events and you change them up from some aspect of things you know. For example, people have asked me why I'm not a romance writer. I'm not very romantic. Okay. But why don't I write about the rich and famous romance stories, like, these things where some heiress goes off to Greece and then she meets this mysterious man, I'm like, because I haven't got a clue. I mean, that's not my life. I'm not rich. I don't understand those circles. I don't shop in any fancy. I would never shop in that store. I mean, I shop at Amazon. So, and Goodwill. But, no, I don't shop there anymore, but I used to. Amazon. I just don't have that lifestyle. I don't know. I don't understand it. I can't write about it because I don't get it. But if I wrote a fiction book, you might see things in there that I can relate to. I'm not saying 100% of it is from true life, but there's little aspects of it that you borrow in order to create fiction. So a lot of people, when, for example, you're asked, if I asked you right now, tell me a fake name, give yourself a fake name, boom, do it. What you usually do is you'll think of a relative or friends and you'll maybe take a first name and a last name from two people and shove them together. You may look, if you're outside, you may look up at a sign and say, it's Will's Bar. You'll go, oh, Will Smith. Oh, no, that's an actor. You'll grab things because you cannot come from nothing. So she supposedly never saw this episode, but yet her experience seems to be very similar to this episode. So my belief is it's entirely possible that when she went to write her book and wanted to make money, she remembered this episode. And since she did live in New York City, maybe was around people of certain groups, maybe did shop in high-end stores, she just borrowed this whole concept and went with it and said, and she could have even met Trump someplace else. She could have met Trump at the store and they could have joked around. But that he actually went into the back room with her and sexually assaulted her may never have happened. The problem is there's no proof of it. And she's in a civil court. So all she needs is a jury that pretty much doesn't like Donald Trump or has a great feeling for victims of a sexual assault or can't believe women would lie. And they will find him guilty of whatever she claims, and she'll win a big settlement. It's not criminal; he'll have to pay out, but it's. I have a problem with all these civil claims without proof, and I find it very sad because it's to me it can destroy innocent people's names because you're not actually providing proof, and so people in the limelight. It's very easy to accuse people in the limelight, actors. Politicians. And I'm not going to tell you that there's not slimy actors and politicians out there. I've been in Hollywood. I'm telling you, the casting couch is real. It's absolutely real. And there's slime bags out there all over the place. I've encountered many of them in my lifetime. You bet. The problem is the people who are bigger names are more likely to be accused of certain things because they can make more money off of them. You don't want to accuse the janitor at the local school because he ain't got crap to give you in money. And it's not going to make much in the papers. But if you can find somebody, and I'm going to link below my other thing that I did on the whole thing I did on Cheech and Chong, because it was such a strange situation that I was on the set with Cheech and Chong and I was in a bed with Tommy Chong. And so when I was trying to explain how people get accused of things, I wrote a blog and I said in this blog, do you think Pat Brown was sexually assaulted by Tommy Chong? And I told this tragic tale of how I laid in bed with him. This is true. I laid in bed with him and I was supposed to hide under the covers because I was like the lump under the covers. I was supposed to be the girl that he was in bed with for the show, for the actual movie. I was a stand-in and she was getting her hair done. So they had me under the covers with him, like we're sleeping late in the morning. And then they did a scene and then she got in bed and finished up whatever. But while I was in the bed, I claimed that he touched me inappropriately under the covers. And I was horrified and didn't know what to do. I was with a famous star and nobody else knew what was going on. And then when they said cut, I got out of the bed and ran. And I never told anybody except my sister. My sister will confirm that I told her this. And it was a tragic thing. It was horrifying. And I was very upset about this whole thing. I wrote, well, what do you think? And everybody came in and said how they felt terribly sorry for me. And I said, oh my God, Pat, I'm so sorry. I'm like, holy crap. And then I got a phone call from one of the lawyers I did Nancy Grace with. And he offered to represent me in a lawsuit against Tommy Chung. And I'm like, Jesus God, it didn't ever happen, guys. I was making a point. Tommy Chung never touched me in any way, shape, or form. Look how you fell for that. You fell for that. And I had to put a big disclaimer on it because I never thought people, I was pointing out, do you think? And I thought that people were going to go, good story, Pat. No, everybody fell for it. I'm like, damn, I'm a good writer because I wrote that crap in 5 minutes flat. Because I took a piece of truth, which I was under the covers with Tommy Chung, and then I wrote this tragic story. And I'm an author. I mean, it wasn't hard for me to do. And I'm like, oh, I'm a psychopath, and I can really lie. And I'm like, oh my God! So I told the lawyer, I'm like, no, I never did that. And I had to write this thing. I mean, I felt really bad. I'm like, geez, I hope this doesn't get out. That I accused Tommy Chung of something he didn't do. But that's how easy it is. And that's how people fall for it. And that's why I do not like this kind of stuff. I like, if something happens, you better file that criminal charge right away, because that way that person can have a chance to defend themselves. And you also, if it really happens, you're going to save other victims from having that happen to them. But if you just don't say anything, and then let's say it really did happen to you, then you let that go on for decades, that person assaulting other people because you wouldn't speak up. And then you come out with your civil case against him and claim that these things happen. I'm sorry. I'm not fond of that crap. I'm not. I'm not fond of that. Okay. Let's see what you have to say before I do my last thing here before we run out of time. I believed you now just telling me this. It was horrible. I mean, what was I to do? I was 19 years old. I was under the covers, and I had the covers over my head, and then I felt his hand going up my leg. I mean, it's so easy. Oh my God. You can do better. No, it was Tommy, not Cheech. But by the way, I just want to say this. The Cheech and Chong set was a fabulous set to be on. They did not smoke any weed during any of the filming. The food was great. That's all. Oh my God. You just fell for it too. Oh my God. You're so easy. And I was telling you, see, I told you right up front, it was probably just a fake stuff. Oh my God. Oh Lord. Oh my God. That's funny. That's how easy it is, though. And when you watch how somebody lies, how easy it is for them to get to lie. Actually, I'm going to do a video on a couple things. One is a story about a young man who killed his sister, and it's a documentary. I just saw it, and he's visiting with his parents. The parents now know he killed the sister, and they're visiting him in prison, and they're like, "Oh, honey, we love you." And I'm like, "Wow." And by the way, Dr. Grande, that was the best thing Dr. Grande ever did. I laughed my ass off during that. So, but I want to put that together with a scene from New Amsterdam where the psychologist deals with a 11-year-old girl who strangles her brother, and she is such a psychopath. And it is a person, I think most of New Amsterdam is nonsense. Just nonsense. It's not the way hospitals work. It's a lot of it's just ridiculous. But that one scene, because she so plays him, and she's such a psychopath. And I'm only doing this in jest here. But when you get a psychopath who's really controlling and manipulating, and they've worked on these methodologies, they can do things and they really can control people and make people think that things have happened that haven't happened. Oh my God. So yeah. Was it the guy that he shot his sister? I'll get to that one because it's just interesting. And before I go on to the last thing I'm going to talk about, I do want to mention I was asked to do this because there was a recent was it an appeal that came out. I'm going to do the case of, and somebody said, oh, Pat doesn't do UK cases. She's in the US. I'm like, yes, I do. I do UK cases. I'm going to do the Jody Jones case, and the guy who, his name is Luke Mitchell. He was a boyfriend of Jody Jones. She was, I believe, 14, and he was like 16, and he was accused of brutally murdering her. And now people are believing he's innocent, and they did a whole documentary, a 2-part documentary, which I just watched. So I'm going to do that for this weekend. It's a fascinating case. And people is he innocent or is he guilty? But yeah, scary stuff. But so my last thing here I'm going to talk about is this case. It's a Brandon Lawson case. And the reason it's interesting to me, and I can't do a whole show on it because there's no place to go for a whole show. But wait a minute, I'm in the wrong place now. Okay. This guy, he got in an argument with his girlfriend, who'd been with her for 10 years. They had a couple kids. They got in this argument, and he got in his vehicle and he drove away. And he ran out of gas in the dead of night in Texas. And he made a series of strange phone calls, and then he was never seen again. In 2013, there was a weird series of events. He stormed out of his house in a rage. And an hour later, he called the police when he ran out of gas, but he hid from them when they arrived. He told the emergency operator, yes, I'm in the middle of a field. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. The guy's chasing blah, 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 to the woods. Please hurry. We're not talking to him. I told you I ran into him. And so it was kind of confusing exactly what he was actually saying. In addition to the police, Lawson also called his brother Kyle to ask him to bring some gas. When Kyle arrived just after 1 a.m. on August 9th, however, he was nowhere to be found, and no one has seen him since. So, by the way, they had, after he goes out, he leaves the house angry, and then he supposedly runs out of gas, and he's out there, and he's making the phone calls to his brother a number of times, and the police, and when they get there, they can't find him. And then they have search dogs, and they have helicopters, and it's in the desert, so it's not like there's a lot of vegetation. They never find his body. They never find him. They think maybe he ran off. They think maybe the brother had something to do with helping him out. But here's where the problem lies, and I'll get back to drugs. Just before his disappearance, with the stress of working more than 60 hours a week in oil fields and a newborn son at home, Brandon Lawson turned to methamphetamine. According to an interview with Lawson's brother, he had called Kyle to see if he knew where to find the drug. So he had been an addict. He had gotten off, he'd been clean, and now he was falling off the wagon. And at that point, he was trying to find this drug. He did not go home to his family that evening, and that prompted the fight with his girlfriend. And then he got pissed about the fight, and he went off in a truck. Now, everybody sang about this fella. Girlfriend really liked him. His brother really liked him. They said he was kind of a good guy who worked hard, but had he had a drug habit for a while, ended up in prison because of the drug habit. Now he's out. He's trying to do a good thing, but he relapses and looking for meth, and God knows what he found. So he called his brother Kyle in a panic, causing Kyle, the brother, to worry that he was high and hallucinating. He said to his brother, three are chasing me out of town, said Lawson. Now, mind you, he ran out of gas. He tells the police he ran out of gas. So is he running out of gas, or is something happening to him by other people? But his truck is out of gas, because what happened was he hadn't filled it up, and then he went off in this anger and then just ran out of gas on the highway. And then he went on to clarify, he's talking about the Mexicans in the neighborhood, which there was really not much of a neighborhood there. Lawson denied being high when his brother asked him. With his wife and 4-year-old son in tow, Kyle left his house and drove to Lawson's to retrieve the gas can Lawson had left on the porch. So was going to bring a gas can to him. And then apparently his brother didn't have enough money to fill the gas can up. So he was going to bring the gas can to the truck, and then his brother could get the gas can and go to a gas station, take a walk, Things aren't working well. The brothers exchanged several more phone calls, with Lawson often hanging up after a few sentences. At one point, Lawson told Carroll he was bleeding. And then when he called 911, later, he told the dispatcher he wasn't alone and needed the police. So he was kind of in and out of it, says his brother. He said someone was after him, but I don't know what happened. So he was incoherent. Nothing he said made sense. Was he paranoid because of drugs he was taking? Or was somebody really after him? And why would somebody really be after him? And then, he runs out of gas and suddenly people are after him. It doesn't really work. At any rate. So what happened is, they never found him. He was out, however, he had an outstanding warrant for drug charges. So that's why I thought when the police arrived, he went and hid, because he actually didn't want to go back to prison. And if you're doing drugs, and this is important, that a lot of times, or if you have emotional problems, you do one thing thinking it's a good thing at 12:01, but at 12:04 you think, oh, what did I do that for? And then you do something completely different. So it's erratic, and it confuses people because your behavior doesn't make sense, because it doesn't make sense. And there's a reason it doesn't make sense, is because you're not fully there mentally. And so that confuses a lot of people. Now, he was reported missing on August 13th, 2013. Texas Rangers conducted a helicopter search. They never found him. They started a page for him. There was also the issue that he had withdrawn from it looked like he had withdrawn from his 401k, but prior to disappearing, he was set to start a new job within a few days. So some think he was starting a new job so he wouldn't disappear. Others say, why did he take money from the 401k? Where was the money? I don't know. At any rate, however, February 4th, 2022, nearly a decade after he went missing, clothing was found that was identified as Lawson's. A further search led to discovery of human remains near Lawson's last known location. I think when they found the human remains, I felt it's kind of it. That was over. At this time, this is in 2022, the DNA tests have yet to identify him as Brandon Lawson. Now it's weird because let me just check to see if I see that the DNA test ever came back. Because for some reason they're not mentioned in any of these articles. Okay, Brandon Lawson DNA results 2023. Let's see if it was him. What? DNA results are not complete as of March 2023. It's been a year? What's taking them so long? It hasn't been announced. But the clothing was consistent with him, and it was in the area where he went missing, which you wonder why the helicopters and the dogs never found him. But it'll be interesting. They haven't said anything about the remains, whether there were like gunshot wounds to the remains, whether there were stab wounds to the remains, or whether he's in the middle of a desert and just dehydrated and just keeled over at some point, or he overdosed. And so, I don't see, wow, they should hurry up with those DNA things. But you see the trouble with drugs. So when you get drugs involved in a lot of cases, this is the point I want to make here. It confuses so many things because people behave erratically. And if they're willing to do certain things that are illegal, they're willing to do other things. So it gets very confusing it's not like when you have, a school teacher who has a happy marriage and is wonderful to the children and doesn't have any alcohol or drug problems, and she's walking home and she disappears. You probably know she was kidnapped, okay? But when people start having all these other issues and something happens to them, a lot of times you're not sure. Did they have a mental breakdown? Did they run off and then harm themselves? Did they commit suicide? Did they try to buy drugs off of sketchy people and get killed by the sketchy people? You have so many more things that could be in the pot. So it makes a lot of, police work a lot more difficult when there's like so many threads in the investigation. You don't know which one you should pull on. And every time you pull on one, you don't necessarily come up with an answer. And then everybody has a different view of the person because they're dealing with them in different circumstances. Sometimes they're even lying too. They don't want to tell the truth about the person. They won't admit he has a drug problem, or they won't admit he's tried to commit suicide. They won't admit this. They won't admit that because, it might influence a police investigation. They won't look for him. So, or they'll think he killed himself and they won't look for the murderer. So you get so much of this all mixed up when you have these added issues in a police investigation. So it's just a good thing to recognize. He did have the warrant, and maybe that's why. Why did he call them to begin with is the question. It's possible he called 911. They said, "You need an ambulance." He said, "No, I need cops." So that would indicate, theoretically, that somebody was after him. Or were they? It's hard to know. Sorry. Oops. They were very hard to understand. And I listened to a couple of the 911 calls, and then there were claims that people heard gunshots in them. I never heard any gunshots. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. Okay. Wait a minute. Is that... Did I do that one or didn't I do that one? Hold on. We're talking. I don't think I did that one yet. Jennifer Kessler. I think she's the one missing out of the apartment. Was that the apartment house? That one I have not done yet. I do want to do that one. Do I believe she was abducted and murdered? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. The question is who did it. So yeah. So anyway, that's it for tonight. So I'm glad you're all here, and so many things to talk about, and I didn't even get to half of them, but there's always more for the next week. But yes, join me this weekend for the good old Luke Mitchell. Is he innocent or isn't he innocent? And the documentary is very interesting. And the question is the documentary The Making a Murderer of Scotland, or is it a good documentary that brings up valid issues as to that this kid was wrongly charged and convicted of killing his girlfriend? So we'll have to find out. Well, that's a day. You never know. That could be it, Nina. Don't know. And I don't know where they actually found him, and why they didn't find him when they went for the police search. But as I point out, drugs don't do you a lot of good. If you actually look at how many cases are drug related, by the people doing the crime, or the people who are getting killed by the people, people who are getting killed because they were doing drugs and became vulnerable, or because they get involved in something. I mean, it's just drugs are a bad thing. I'm going to say that. Yeah, don't get upset over that one. I have actually been sexually assaulted. I talked about that, but that wasn't it. that guy did. Poor Tommy didn't do a thing to me. Well, wait till you see the real one I did on it. I'll put the link. I think I did the video. I know I did a whole blog on it, and I think I did a video on it, but I'm not even sure now. But I'll put the blog below, because it really I couldn't believe the response I got. I'm like, boy, I'm a good liar. That's kind of frightening. I'd be such a good psychopath. Anyway, join me on Saturday. And again, if you're new here and you're still here, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel and keep this thing floating. I'll see you next time. Bye.